Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1568. Mike Matthews here at Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont, the last place on earth. We did a super secret Sunday show yesterday, full of craziness and mirth and observations, and Mona Charen, who I then got to hear all over the wonderful the Daily
Mike's Daily Podcast.
The Daily Podcast by the New York Times, and she explained what happened at CPAC when she got booed.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And she warned people, listen, this is a revolution, and sometimes in the world with your thoughts you have an evolution, but when you disagree with the party that you sometimes see as your affiliation, when you believe in keeping this nation out of craziness,
Mike's Daily Podcast.
We want to make the country a better place, maybe the world a better place. That's okay.
Mike's
and you shouldn't
Daily
have to hold it inside.
Podcast.
So if you don't know what I am talking about, check out the last show at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. There is links all over the place. It's like you're in a sausage shop with links, sausage links everywhere, hanging from the ceiling, encased in intestine everywhere. Ew. Hey, I wanted to say, oh, somebody just walked in. Can I get a little Jimmy Fallon thing?
Yeah.
Thank you. Look who it is now that walked in. Here. Now.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. I was like hesitating.
You can't hesitate when you're doing a fake radio show like this. When you're doing a podcast like this, you have to talk immediately.
Sorry, Mike Matthews. I was just enjoying the Olympics last night.
Oh, good. Look who else walked in. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. He said he's Floyd the Floorman. Mm-hmm. I have to sometimes clarify because his voice is a little odd. No, it's not. Floyd. Oh, okay. Hey, I think that was interesting during the CPAC convention when Trump said, what would you rather have, Second Amendment or tax cuts? Go!
And here's today's podcast picture.
And he, wait, what? Huh? Second Amendment or tax... Wait, what? And then he went on about John McCain without saying his name, saying... this guy, he came in and he didn't do he did the thumbs down thing, and and he was totally bashing John McCain. And John McCain, I know you're like, well, no, Mike, maybe he was just saying that he messed up the whole repeal of Obamacare, and he was still mad about that. He still holds a grudge. Gee, what a surprise. Holding a grudge, our president. But hey, he's a
showboat. He's a grandstander.
So just don't make John McCain. It's what the guy has done more. And this is not my words. This is Mona Charen's words. But I strongly agree with it that he's done more for this country than Trump ever has done or will do. So shut up. But yeah, that's just, hey, you know that Tesla thing, that car that's supposed to be super electric and super amazing and sounds a little like that when you drive by because it's a little kind of thing going by, jalopy. Tesla is going to lose federal tax credit sometime this year. That's right. The tax credits were included in the stimulus bill of 2009, provided for a credit of between $2,500 or $7,500 on the first on the first 200,000 all-electric or plug-in electric hybrids sold by a given manufacturer. The law went to it. I remember that. You got money back. Into effect in 2010, was not repealed in the December 2017 tax bill last year, was not repealed. Okay, so Tesla, Nissan, and General Motors are the only car makers who have sold more than 100,000 qualifying vehicles. The Toyota Prius does not count. It's a hybrid. Okay. In 2017, the annual report filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission on Friday, Tesla noted in the section on risk factors, once Tesla sells its 200,000th vehicle, the tax credit disappears over time. All right. That's great, isn't it? Are you going to buy I see Teslas all over the place in the Bay Area. They got this look. Sometimes I think it's a different type of car, and then I see that weird T. And they're sleek. They're nice. Some of them look really cool. So that would be a car at some point that, well, my house isn't even rigged up to charge. Oh, but Mike, that's easy to do. You just take the thing that you would usually plug into your dryer, and then that goes into the car. What? No, it's more complicated than that. And then Trump said at CPAC, I think I'm the only president that fulfills promises. That's fulfilled as many promises as the president has made, more that he fulfilled, he says. Something to that effect. And he keeps calling the media crooked. And that's his go-to word, is crooked. Crooked Hillary, crooked everything. Well, hey! That's all I'm going to say about CPAC. It's just that if you listen to The Daily by the New York Times, I know I'm doing a big full-on plug with Michael Barbaro, the host of that show, but he talked to Mona after what I talked about on the last podcast, where she was on a panel, and it sounds to me like Kelsey Harkness, who got the collateral damage. Well, she was sitting right next to Mona when she said her comment about how Trump should be held accountable for for the comments that he's been known to make, and that the Republican Party should know better than to put someone like Roy Moore as a candidate for the Alabama Senate when all the allegations that were against him. And a lot of conservatives echo that. I know Michael Medved agreed with that and was talking about that. And people were shouting at her, no, it's not true. Not true. This lady said that. And I could find the clip, but that's on the last show. At any rate, Mona Charen said, yeah, it was, I don't like to, be in conflict with people. I'm not a confrontational type person. But I had to bring that up because I think it's bad if you have a party, if you're in a party and you just go in lockstep when there's something you see as hypocrisy standing right in your face, and you need to say something about it. For everything else, she's very conservative. She has very conservative values, and she does not, and she rails against liberals for being too much in lockstep. Like they don't allow anyone to step out of line and say, hey, well, isn't this kind of hypocritical what we're saying? And that's how people like Harvey Weinstein got as far as he did in the party. Nobody was saying anything, or people were saying things and people weren't listening, and people. So that's all. Mona Charen did mention, too, how she got an Uber. Oh, but there were like these 3 security guards, as I mentioned on the last show, that were, hey, how are you leaving, Miss Charen? And she's like, well, I'm taking an Uber. Have you ordered the Uber? Order the Uber now, Ms. Charen. Okay. Sure. Oh, wait, I left my jacket in the green room. Okay. All right. Agent 45, can you go get the jacket? And she said there was some commotion about getting her jacket out. The security detail, we're talking to other security detail to get the thing, to get the jacket out. And then she's outside, and people are giving her high fives, like thumbs up, like good job, even though she spoke out and called the BS. And then she's almost getting into the Uber, and she didn't say who specifically it was, but it was someone on the panel. And by the way it sounded, I am assuming, which is never a good thing, but just extracting from what she was talking about, it sounds like Kelsey Harkness walked up to her and said, "You were so brave up there." It sounds like something, just the manner at which Mona didn't say her name on the podcast, but so maybe that's something good. And good on Kelsey Harkness, and good on that expression, good on you, which I love that expression, good on you. Look, a bunch of good just fell on top of you. Ew, what is that stuff? That's called good falling on you. Neil Young said, Google has anything but a heart of gold when it comes to compensating artists. He vented on Google and other tech companies in a post published by Neil Young Archives. This happened I'm sorry. Whenever I say the word Neil Young, I put myself to sleep. I know, a great artist, keep on rocking in the free world and all that, and Harvest was a great album. He puts me to frickin' sleep now. And oh yeah, he rails against Monsanto, and he had all the seeds on stage, and he was making a comment, and
Whoa.
Yeah, he's cool about that, but just Neil Young. He vented, though, against. He said, today in the age of Facebook, Google, and Amazon, it's hard to tell how a new and growing musical artist could make it in the way we did. The tech giants have figured out a way to use all the great music of everyone from all time without reporting an artist's numbers of plays or paying a bleeping cent to the musicians. Aren't they great companies? It makes you wonder where the next generation of artists will come from. How will they survive? And so he went on and on. And so now back to Harvey Weinstein. He is big. The Weinstein Company has declared bankruptcy after the sexual harassment scandal that has engulfed the beleaguered firm. And so good for that. There's a Toyota Hyundai recall. Roughly 110,000 vehicles. Toyota and Hyundai have recalled a combined 110,000 trucks and sport utility vehicles, including the 2018 Toyota Tundra and Sequoia, and the 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe and Santa Fe Sport. There was Uber and Lyft congestion. Studies are increasingly clear. Uber, Lyft congest cities. Yes, they've done the opposite of what we thought they would do. One promise of ride-hailing companies like Uber and Lyft was fewer cars clogging city streets, but studies suggest the opposite, that ride-hailing companies are pulling riders off buses, subway, bicycles, and their own feet and putting them in cars instead. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we were supposed to get away from being a car culture. Wasn't that the whole promise of good public transportation? Oh, it'll whisk you away. As I was per usually doing, I was watching a thing on Disney. I'm just fascinated by Disneyland and how that was made and why it turned out the way it did and how it has lived all these years. And, you know, the monorail wasn't built till later. It was not there the debut in 1955. It was he had like a train that looked like a rocket ship kind of thing in the beginning, but then he saw a monorail system in Europe and loved it, and Disney said, we got to put that in here. And the monorail from, you know, he had thoughts. I have heard this. I don't know if this is true or not, but I had heard that he had wanted to put it down the 405 in California, have one just take people, shuttle them from like the San Fernando Valley. He had to, when he was building Disneyland, he had people fly from Burbank Airport down to the what's called the John Wayne Airport now. I believe that it's the Orange County Airport. And then people would have to drive from the Orange County Airport up to where Disneyland is, which, if you know your Southern California, that's just you could have just driven down to Disneyland faster. And a lot of his employees did. But he was like, no, I'll fly you down. And people, he goes, if I fly you down, then you can work on the plane. And that he was thinking of that back in the 50s. But the monorail, I've always been fascinated by public transportation like that. When I moved to the Bay Area, I was all excited about BART. I was very pro BART, and then after riding BART a bunch of times, I realized it's crap and it stinks a pot and I hate it. So it went bad. It went south. Public transportation in the Bay Area is crap. Then I go to visit Portland, and Portland has got some nice, clean public transportation from what I saw. Now, I might have been there on a good day, where everything was shined up. But no, I don't know. But people are in cars now. A service by Uber called Express Pool now is seen as directly competing with mass transit. Uber and Lyft argue that in Boston, for instance, they complement public transit by connecting riders to hubs like Logan Airport and South Station, but they have not released their own specific data about rides, leaving studies up to outside researchers. I didn't even say what the podcast picture was today. I apologize. The podcast picture was as I was walking Basil the Boxer. He is not in this picture, however, but it is of Lake Chabot in Podcastro Valley. And this is yesterday. And I sadly had to come to the realization yesterday that I just can't go on this one route that I used to with Basil anymore. It's too much on his joints. I can't really walk him on hard asphalt. Well, they got these sidewalks around Lake Chabot that take you around Lake Chabot Boulevard, where the asphalt is it's like got bits of broken glass in it from all the drunks that like to park along the side of Lake Chabot Boulevard and throw their beer bottles. I don't know what's going on, but there's like little tiny bits of glass, and it just, when Basil's walking on it looks like he's very uncomfortable, and we go really far in this one route that we do, and I just have to scale it back because Basil's getting up there. He'll be 10 this year, so that was a bit sad, but I think also at the same time, we all get older, and it's just a fact of life. But the Florida students are returning to school, and that is in the news. There was also a really good show on the Daily, and just, I guess you can find it on YouTube, the comments that were made by the students. And just, some of them said, hey, I am for the Second Amendment, but a friend of mine, friends of mine died, and this has to change. And Trump said today, as he spoke to governors today, that is his top priority right now. We'll see. Maybe it's also the redacted Democrat memo, which I won't get into on today's show because we got to go outside of Cafe. Anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. There's so much to do today, so much to talk about this week, and we'll get to it. I'll try not to be crooked. I try to be as straight-laced, as it were. Laced? I don't think I've ever been laced. Maybe I was. That's an interesting thought to ponder. But next show, we will have the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled fiddle player, and the Brewmaster. Enjoy your day, because it's raining in the Bay Area. And it's exciting because there's a little bit of rain, and we haven't had much of it. And I don't know why I even care, because after all the rain last year, I pretty much I don't care anymore about rain. I've seen it. I'm done with it. That sort of... Do you know how that is? As a friend of mine likes to say over and over. Do you know how that is? Nah, I got an inkling.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!